Week 6 NFL action. It is our big show on Thursdays. And if you guys can tell, me and Kyle got our tuxedos on and we are ready to go. So welcome into NFL Week 6. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We're sportsbookreview.com and we are ready. Tuesday, look, we say it each and every week we come on the air. Getting after it, setting the table. But Thursday is that primetime show where the practice reports are out, the lines have moved, and it's time to make some decisions on these games. We'll hit each and every game on the card today. Also, a little bit later in the show, Kelsey Kramer will be on to discuss some Pick 6 NFL picks and also some guidance on where we're looking to go this weekend. But Thursday's show, Kyle, is about that business.
That's right, and it's kind of a weird Thursday show. We don't have to talk Thursday night football. We don't have any weird props for tonight. It's kind of unusual. Maybe I'll take the extra time and shave, maybe trim this beard so I don't look so darn ridiculous on our show next time. But, it's always nice to let Donnie be the handsome one once in a while, so that's important to do. But, no, I'm excited for Week 6. There's a lot of spots that I like this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of injuries, etc. Looks like Minnesota-Atlanta is going to be fine. Thanks to Adam Schefter for freaking me out this morning. But we're going to be good to go. No Thursday night football, so we're not going to see a crappy game on Thursday. That's always nice. So I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, when I see those spreads out there, the -1.5s, the -3s across the board, there's some things that you can try to find some edges and really hit home. But again, no surprise, we're seeing those 55.5s, 56s, 57s out here on some of these totals to get after. But we are here. It is Thursday, as I said. Thank you for guys coming in here to spend your Thursday afternoon with us to talk a little bit of NFL football. Alan's in here, Derek's in here, Danny's in here, Melissa, Nutflush Allen, good friend of the show, he's in here as well. Sean, MCK, and NO. This is Red. Look. Thursday, you already brought it up, Kyle. Thursday night football, right? We're usually trying to get in and trying to find that edge. One team is usually shorthanded. I actually like the fact that Thursday night football is not being played. I very rarely bet on Thursday night football outside of messing around. And I never, you know me, I never take a road team on Thursday night football. I love the fact that we have a doubleheader and a good doubleheader on Monday night football. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But your thoughts on no Thursday night game? Because honest to God, I don't really care about Thursday night football. Just let college football take it back with a nice primetime Thursday night game. I'm fine with waiting on Sunday. I just always look at it as a lost opportunity for me to gamble because I don't like the short weeks, less preparation, and more craziness can go on these Thursday night games.
Yeah, the whole thing's ridiculous. And, the NFL, we care about player safety. That's all we care about. Oh, by the way, 3 days after you play on Sunday, you're going to come out here and crack your skulls with no preparation and no practice. It's ridiculous. It's the biggest hypocrisy in all of sports, them telling you that they care about player safety. But for me, I'm right there with you. I'm just not all that interested in those Thursday night games. Usually, I'm actually glad the Bills and Chiefs will be on Monday because those are two excellent teams, and I'd rather see them at full strength with a full week to prepare than try and, slop something together on a Thursday. So I'm fine with it. I'm going to enjoy the night away from football. I'm going to cook a little dinner, trim the beard, and not stress about some ridiculous prop bet I made on Thursday night football.
We're not stressing about here at sportsbook.com is getting people to hit that subscribe button. Over 71,000 people have done so far. Thumbs up here, 13, all ready to go. So we do appreciate that. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet for us, please do that and turn that notification bell on every single time that we go live and talk NFL football. Both myself and Kyle, you will get it delivered to your inbox and you can come into the chat box and say hello. Let's not waste any further time. And you see that no Thursday night football. Are we cool with this? Yes. I'm very cool with this because it allows me to focus on Sunday and have some fun with that. Let's start with 1 o'clock on Sunday, 2:51, 2:52. The Chicago Bears invade Carolina. It's going to be Nick Foles versus Teddy Bridgewater. And taking a look at some of this action offshore, SBRodds.com. About a 50-50 ticket split here. Opened up as a favorite for Carolina. It was hovering around that 2.5 range when last time we talked on Tuesday. But now we're seeing the backtracking, and I agree with it. -1s, -1.5 across the board. Say, wait a second. I like the way Carolina's playing. They're 3-2. And certainly some people say, hey, that's actually really good for where we thought they might have been before the season began. Now we're taking a look at the Chicago Bears. That unheralded 4-1, if you can say, making the move to Nick Foles. They just came off back-to-back games of playing teams with really good defenses, beating one of them in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing to one with the Indianapolis Colts. And I don't want to say you're getting a breather with Carolina, but certainly not at the level of the last two defenses. So you're going to put this game on Nick Foles to see if he can get some explosive plays with Allen Robinson on the back end. and we look at the total, manageable, right, Kyle? 44 it opens up as. 44 and a half primarily across the board. Even one outlet in New Jersey showing a 43 and a half at minus 115. So if you're looking for points and you say, well, hey, Donnie, the Chicago Bears don't score all that much. Again, keep in mind the defenses that they played, because remember when they played a bad one and Nick Foles came in and went gangbusters in the second half for Atlanta? They should be able to get some points in this game. And I'm going to keep the same notion I had. The line movement is changing. I agree with it. I think overall, the Chicago Bears are the better football team and the more rested football team since playing on Thursday, getting the extra couple days to reset.
Yeah, honestly, Carolina's defense hasn't been as bad as I thought they were going to be either. Now, I don't know if that's just a creation of playing teams that are underachieving, like Atlanta just looked god awful, and I think we're just learning. We don't know if they're any good on offense or defense, and their coach is gone. And then you look at Chicago and you're like, man, this doesn't feel like a 4-1 team. They probably shouldn't have won that game last Thursday. I don't like how much they're penalized. Them and Tampa Bay, both those teams, we kind of saw it on Thursday night, and they were going over the numbers. They're penalized so much. But then you look, this does seem like a bit of a breather. The side I really do like, I'm glad you brought it up, was the totals at 44.5, 45. I like that total. I think the Bears offense, even though I'm not a huge believer in Nick Foles, I think they have plenty of weapons to move the ball in that Carolina defense. And then obviously, two of the people who were bigger on Carolina and may not be as surprised as others are you and I. We've talked about Carolina since the preseason, and we sort of liked this team coming in. So I think this is actually going to be a fun game. Normally it wouldn't be. Chicago, Carolina, who cares? But Mike Davis has looked really good. The Chicago offense should start to get a little bit better. They're getting used to no Tariq Cohen. I was encouraged by David Montgomery being a part of the passing game. So I like the over in this game. And if I'm leaning aside, I do think I'll take the better defense right now in that Chicago.
And that's the way I would lean on that as well, because I think you're going to get an honest effort out of Nick Foles. He's not going to be under siege in this football game, because when we're taking a look at the injury reports, and they haven't been official yet for Thursday for the Carolina Panthers, but keep in mind, concussion, Brian Burns, your defensive end, Gross Matos, the young rookie, he's got an ankle. He didn't practice yesterday. And also K'Wan Short goes on the IR, so he's out. So you're really underhanded and hamstrung on that upfront line that you need to get some pressure on Nick Foles. He should have some time to throw the football. But again, prefaces, I like Matt Rule's squad. They're going to give you an honest effort. They got a good crew of wide receivers. And how about this interesting one? Would have been nice if Chicago had a backup running back called Mike Davis, as opposed to cutting him and now, a year later finding himself on the Carolina Panthers and doing a lot of damage in the backfield. But I'm going to stick with my early week prognostication on this one. I like the Chicago Bears. I think they can go down to Carolina and take a victory in this game. Let's keep it here in the South. 2:53, 2:54 on Sunday. Another 1 o'clock start. A lot of these will be 1 o'clock starts. Almost 7 out of every 10 tickets here coming in on the road team here, the Detroit Lions, coming off a bye. Matthew Stafford, good tight end, good group of wide receivers, running game cranked up, a god-awful defense for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But we see that line, Kyle, opens up at 3 with the heavy, 7 out of 10 tickets already coming on Detroit. It's not really moving all that much. There are some outlets here in New Jersey showing a minus 3.5, but primarily it's minus 3s with some juice and a heavy over-under. Opened up at 52.5. Now we're seeing 54s and even some 55s across the board. And that's a direct shot at how bad that Jacksonville defense is, and also a shot at Detroit's defense. Let's not leave them out here, in the field saying, hey, they play really good defense. They don't play any defense. So if Minshew, the one thing I disagreed with what Jacksonville did last week is they really dumped it down, 5-yard swing passes, fed their running back, instead of being that aggressive style with Gardner Minshew that you see a lot, taking shots deep downfield. I know you're going to bring up in a couple of minutes, DJ Chark still were banged up. He was really a disappearing act in that Houston game. You need him to be a deep threat and a big play wide receiver if you're looking to move the football. It's very square in this game to go ahead and take the Detroit Lions coming off the bye, but looking at it overall, I don't think Jacksonville is very good on defense. I think Detroit's going to be able to move the football. So right away, I'm trying to zero in and say, well, if I don't trust Detroit, Kyle, going on the road as a favorite to win by basically a touchdown this game, I'm looking a lot at this over-under. I agree with the line movement north, but it's in that same range it was last week for Houston. The only reason it didn't go over is you had 2 missed field goals, and Jacksonville just doing bonehead things, and again, not being aggressive on offense. And if you start the football game where both teams get 2 possessions, they go out the midfield and punt, you're never going to be able to hit the over. I think the over gets there.
Yeah, it should get there in this game. These are 2 really bad defenses. You touched on it, and these are 2 banged up defenses. Miles Jack and Josh Allen are still limited in practice. Then you look on the offensive side, that's where the real concern would be for me, with not just DJ Chark not practicing yesterday. I haven't gotten today's report yet, but didn't practice yesterday, and neither did Laviska Shenault. So then you start getting really thin at the wide receiver spot. You're looking at, Keelan Cole and Conley, and maybe D.D. Westbrook rises from the grave and gets some action. I know they let him return some punts. That's how you know a team doesn't like you, right? When they put you on the punt return team, that means like, we're ready to get you clobbered. We don't care what happens to you, right? So I don't trust Detroit on the road. I definitely don't trust Jacksonville at home after we saw what they did on that Thursday night game against Miami. Jacksonville's kind of been a letdown for me. Right now, I'm leaning the Detroit side in the over. I'll probably, with my money, pass on this game altogether. From a fantasy perspective, I love the Detroit offensive side of the ball. Stafford and Hawkinson and Kenny Golladay, I think they can make some noise in the fantasy football world. But it's two teams you don't trust where they're playing. If this was reversed, I'd love Detroit at home, but it's tough to take them on the road. I'd lean Detroit, and I'd lean the over. 54.5 always makes you nervous.
Yeah, maybe that Jacksonville magic here running out after that nice victory opening day against the Colts. We're now seeing the Colts struggling a little bit on offense, so how good of a win actually was that? But the Thursday report, Kyle, is out now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a little bit of good news here because Josh Allen got in limited practices for both days. DJ Chark still sitting out with an ankle, but we do know when you're talking about ankle injuries, I'd rather it's not, you don't want any injuries, but if you're going to have an ankle injury, I'd rather have that than oppose like a hamstring injury or a soft tissue like a calf, because with a wide receiver, what are they built on? You could tape up an ankle, see if you can get through the game, but you're not going to be able to open it up on the offensive side, specifically running deep routes if you have a hamstring injury. And you need DJ Chark to be able to do that, but also sliding it down. Laviska Shenault, who did not practice on Wednesday with a hamstring injury, did come back today with a light practice. So maybe some help on the horizon. And again, if I'm looking at the over in this game, which I am, I want a healthy DJ Chark. I want a healthy Laviska Shenault. I want to see a more improved offensive game plan at a Doug Marrone and say, hey, push this football downfield. Let your playmakers make some plays, because the one thing we do know is Jacksonville will give up yards. They have the ability to get yards on offense, but we didn't see that at all last week. If we're looking at -3 right now, honest, if we're just taking a pick, it's got to be Detroit for me, right? I'm not just going to, Jacksonville's going to come up big in this game, you know?
It has to be. Just like across the board, even though Detroit's defense is terrible, it's still better than Jacksonville's defense. And their offense is, in my opinion, considerably better. They've got a nice little three-headed monster there at running back, even four-headed sometimes if you want to bring that in. Kenny Golladay healthy, Marvin Jones, Hawkinson. And then you just trust Stafford. If this is a close game, you trust Stafford to bring his team from behind at the end. You don't really trust Gardner Minshew, especially, DJ Chark pulled this last week. He was limited, blah, blah, blah. Then he comes back, plays a few plays, and then leaves the game. So you can't really trust his durability, whereas I can trust some of the guys on Detroit's side. So you got to lean. It's got to be Detroit right now. It does make me nervous, but when I just look at the game, I don't see myself putting money on Jacksonville again this year, unless maybe they play Atlanta, and I can't remember if they do that. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Sean MCK says I can get the Bears team total of 20. I might take that. I mean, it's a fair shot in that one. The only thing that when I look for a team total, and I've taken teams, bad teams, if the price is right, you're gonna lay the wood anyway. But I like teams that have that chance for explosive shots. Like last week, I took a shot with the Oakland Raiders. Why? A lot of explosive guys at tight end, at wide receiver, big time running back, going against an average defense. The one thing I can see about Nick Foles in this game, they should be able to move the football. Again, you're not going up against a top-level defense, and we're talking in today's NFL. Can you see them getting 3 touchdowns? I absolutely can. So I think it's a decent shot at the 20. Am I running to the gate to actually bet that? Because I would like to see a little bit more explosiveness out of that Chicago offense. But again, I do think it's a decent shot. Let's keep going here. 1 o'clock. The one game that we thought might have been off this morning based on Adam Schefter's tweets, 255, 256. That is Atlanta and Minnesota. We know the players of the game, Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins. The one guy that's not going to be there this weekend, or at least we don't think so, is Dalvin Cook with the groin injury. They should be able to beat the Atlanta Falcons without him. And Madison, the backup running back, he can do a good job. Had over 100 yards last week against Seattle. But again, you lose a little bit of explosiveness. But if you look at this offense that we sort of laughed at in the first maybe week and a half, Minnesota's really rebounded. And now that offensive force that we expected them to be with Adam Thielen and Jefferson on the outside. Again, Dalvin Cook won't be there. But if you got a running back, a secondary running back that's capable of going over 100 yards, you should be able to move the football against a porous Atlanta defense. The problem if you're looking to back Atlanta, and this line jumped as soon as, which is interesting, because as soon as you saw the COVID come out, 5 players, oh my goodness, who is it? If they play, they're going to be shorthanded. If they don't play, then I'll just get my money back. That line goes from 3.5 to 4s across the board. And FanDuel out of New Jersey, Kyle, even showing a 4.5 in this game. Over-under even dropped 56.5 down to 54.5. These are two really bad defenses. But what am I getting on a bonus for Atlanta? I don't know if I'm getting Julio Jones back this week. Gage went down with an injury last week. Calvin Ridley hasn't been the dominant guy. Matt Ryan's arm looks to be disintegrating in front of us. And what's the mindset of a team that just fired their head coach, going on the road, no shot for the season? Are they really digging down deep in this game, saying we need to get a victory here? Is it just like, hey, business trip, we'll go take our lumps and go home? But if you're looking for a total in this game, you need both of these teams to participate on offense. It's real shaky what you're going to get out of Atlanta here.
Yeah, you just can't trust Atlanta. It's disappointing because, I wanted to smash the over every Atlanta game this year because that defense was so bad. And you thought Matt Ryan was going to be able to throw the football. He looks absolutely terrible throwing the football. I think he's got something like 32 fantasy points over the last 3 weeks. Absolutely dreadful for a guy that's throwing the ball 50 times a game. Then they're bringing in Brian Hill and Ito Smith. Even their tight end Hayden Hurst is banged up. There was some encouraging news. I mean, they're always going to say this, but Mike Zimmer says Dalvin Cook feels great. Now, I don't know if he plays this weekend. I think that would be crazy. Can you ever feel great when you have a hurt groin? I know I never have. I've never had a hurt groin. I said, man, I'm doing great today. Let's get out there and run some drills. But Alexander Mattison, you mentioned it, is one of the better backups in the league. He's the top 3 or 4 backup, number 2 running back in this league. You could even argue the second best right after Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. So you got to like Minnesota here at home. There's nothing to like about the Atlanta Falcons. They're a team in absolute disarray. Now their facilities closed down today, so even when this game does go off, they're going to have less preparation than Minnesota's able to have. Got to wonder when they're even going to be allowed to travel with the COVID things. There's all that weird stuff there as well. So it's definitely the Vikings for me. And now I just don't know if I can trust the Vikings or the Falcons. I think the Vikings can get into the 30s, but I don't know if Atlanta can get out of the teens. If you can't do it against Carolina last week at home, what the hell are you going to do against Minnesota? Equally bad defense. But it's hard to trust the Falcons. Just take the Vikings here and enjoy the win.
Yeah, because you're looking at a line that, again, is not 7.5, 10.5, or 14 that says, hey, guys, just stick around and I can pick up some money by, coming back and getting a backdoor cover. It's not really going to be a backdoor cover at -4. I mean, well, hey, they're down 10. They scored late. Sure, it can happen. But you're actually anticipating it. If you're going to take Atlanta and you don't think they can win the game, but you're going to take the points, that's just really a ludicrous way to look at it in bet sports. If you're taking Atlanta, you expect them to come and be competitive with a really good chance to win this football game. And I just don't see it. Maybe Julio practices on Friday tomorrow. He feels good. The wide receiver core is intact going up against a bad defense. But the same adage goes in just about every sport. Just because your defense is bad, like the Minnesota Vikings is, you still need a participant on the opposite side to exploit that bad defense. I'm not so sure they can do it because, look, Todd Gurley looks okay. He's not explosive Todd Gurley from like 2016, 2017. And that's an issue in this one. And balloon ball, as I like to call him, the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan, who are you throwing to? And it's not Julio's probably not going to be running under it. Tough game to pick. And again, I think Minnesota wins this football game, so I'm going to stick with that same side. I don't think Atlanta can get the cover. Otherwise, I think they would win this game. And again, the over/under 53 or 54.5 sounds about right. I don't really have a great feel on that one. If you were looking at this game, though, I mean, I guess I would lean towards the under because Atlanta just seems like a 17-point team to me right now.
Yeah, and way too much like Alameda Zacchaeus out there, and they're barely throwing to the tight end. They can't block anybody. Matt Ryan can't throw the ball downfield. Russell Gage leaves the game every game now with an injury. Julio Jones won't practice all week. It's just all of that is ugly for me. I'm just staying away from it. I just don't trust Atlanta. Now, stranger things have happened, of course, and they can come out and make me look stupid, and that's fine. But before I put money on it, I want them to make me look stupid and make me – because right now I just have no desire to trust Atlanta in any way, shape, or form. Saw a good effort out of Minnesota against Seattle. I thought that was a better effort than even I expected to see against a really good Seattle team. So right now I'm sticking with the Vikings. I like it. That might end up being one of my pick six plays as well.
Yeah, they outplayed talking about the Vikings. They outplayed Seattle for 95% of that game. But again, if you leave 5% up to Russell Wilson, he's going to beat you. And he did exactly that, which he does each and every week. So let's keep moving here and talking about things like, trying to focus in on some stranger things here. How about stranger things with Tennessee playing a Tuesday night football game and actually getting a victory, not being able to practice? A lot of mainstays on their team sitting it out, playing a really good football team in the Bills and absolutely smoked them. Now, Houston's going to come to town without Bill O'Brien with a nice victory last week over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, again, anybody could probably beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. But at least you get that feel back. You put up 30 points. Now you're heading back on the road to play Tennessee on a slightly shorter week, because usually you say, hey, it's a short week already on a Monday. This team played Tuesday, and they're going to have to come back and play on Sunday. So if you have that, 16 days off and 2 practices, you play a football game, maybe a little bit more wear and tear on you, as you're usually not getting that if you're playing the full season. But now Houston comes to town healthy at wide receiver, healthy at running back, and also maybe Deshaun Watson can get loose a little bit. This line opens up at 55 as a total, back down to 53. Tennessee opens up as a favorite, -3.5. Not a lot of movement, but William Hill showing a -3, -120, and also Bet365, -3, -120. After just watching Tennessee blow the doors off the Bills, you're still getting about 7 out of every 10 tickets here betting Tennessee, but that line's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. And I'm starting, when I'm looking for underdogs this week, road underdogs too, something I can get some juice on, I'm starting to like Houston a little bit here. At the short week, we kind of felt like that was going to be a trap when we talked about this game on Tuesday, and Buffalo just wasn't there. And it was kind of a disappointment because I think Buffalo's a very good team. I actually think Buffalo's a better team than Tennessee. I know what we just saw on Tuesday, but there's just how those things sort of go. Tennessee should get Corey Davis back this week, which is a nice addition out there offensively. That's from what I am seeing. I think he's going to be coming off the COVID list sometime this week, or already is off of it. I like Houston, though. It feels like like we said, they took the shackles off. I expect there to be points in this game. Derrick Henry historically plays very, very well against Houston. And on the flip side of that, Deshaun Watson plays very good against Tennessee, some division rivals. And the interesting thing about this is Houston wins this game, they're right back in the division race. So I'm starting to lean towards Houston, and I think they get over that 53. This has a sort of 30-24 type feel to it. Neither defense is very good, including the Titans defense. So I like Houston a little bit coming in on the road and stealing one from Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be good enough to do. I don't trust them enough, and I think they're too far gone. But I do think they will be operational on offense. But Benardrick McKinney's not going to be out for the year for the Houston Texans. That's a huge blow. And if you're getting some ammunition back on offense for Tennessee, you would think Tennessee is going to be able to move the football up and down the field against Houston. The one thing is, if you're looking for the over, Tennessee is going to be able to score. And Houston might be a little bit more of a hurry-up mode and to make some plays, as opposed to just sitting on that lead versus Jacksonville. And they sat on the lead and still ended up with 30 points, a nice offensive showing. I do think we get points in this game. I'm just not ready to say, you know what, Houston could go on the road and win this football game, because I could just see Deshaun Watson holding the football too long late in the game, strip sack fumble, and there you go the opposite way. But I'm worried more about the defense of Houston stopping Tennessee. But I do think we get some points overall in this game, and we'll see how that plays out here. But again, heavy public favorite on Tennessee, and why not? Yeah. Because you haven't seen a lot of Houston that's going to give you a reason to believe. I'll tell you a reason to believe. 259, 260 right here, 1 o'clock on Sunday. A reason to believe my Philadelphia Eagles might still have a chance to win the NFC East is because of this game right here. Teams that are as bad as Washington and as bad as the New York Giants. Giants show up last week, competent effort. Should have been able to win. Dak Prescott snaps his leg in half. They have a 14 or 2 touchdown lead. They can't hold on to it and take another loss, just as they show. Look, if you go on the road and you take a 2 touchdown lead in division, you should be able to close that out. And I lean more on coaching, and I think the Giants made one of the biggest blunders of the past 5 to 10 years with head coaching hires with Joe Judge. I don't think it's going to get any better. Now you have Washington coming to town, who flat out stinks, right? And they're at home, and you see the line opens up at 3.5 as a favorite for the New York Giants. There's not any big changes in this game. We're anticipating Kyle Allen getting back in there, and Kyle Allen is not even a really good quarterback. But the fact that this line opens up at 3.5, and now I'm seeing 2.5s across the board, tells you everything you know about the New York Football Giants. Not a very good football team, because to me, it'll be the same as a broken record. Sometimes I feel like when we talk about the Washington Redskins games, and yes, they're the Redskins until they change their name, I don't understand what their philosophy is on offense or adding talented playmakers, because they stink at every position outside of Terry McLaurin on offense. And yet here we are looking at the Giants going, hey, they woke up a little bit on offense. Yeah, they lost to the Dallas Cowboys, but you should be able to handle the Redskins. And you're sitting here with a 2.5, 2 really bad football teams lining it up. I got to say, though, I'm looking at this, and I I trust Daniel Jones and the Giants offense, how poor it is, much, much more than I do that Washington offense. I just do.
Yeah, they're both so bad. And, we even look at it, we're like, oh, the Giants, they woke up, they scored all these points. Daniel Jones still only threw for a couple hundred yards, no touchdowns. It wasn't this hugely exciting thing. And of course, right on cue, the Jets need to fly over. We'll get to the Jets in a moment, but of course they need to fly over right now. But no, it's hard to trust either of these offenses. And if Alex Smith is in here, I'll mute this for a moment and let you carry it here. It's very
and if you guys don't know where Kyle lives, he actually lives at Area 51. So don't be ashamed. There's probably some aliens popping out, but that's probably a UFO flying over his head as opposed to. But when he's ready to come back and talk about these Washington football team. But looking at the overall lines, you get about a 50-50 ticket split here. It's not going to be bad weather. Look at this over-under. Opens up at 44.5 with two poorest teams, and now we see 42.5 and 43s across the board. It's almost so low to take that low-hanging fruit, but then again, you look at the offense, Kyle, and it's Kyle Allen is the best player on your offense. Oh, my God, I can't take it anymore.
Oh, the defenses are so bad. Well, the Washington defense isn't as terrible. The Giants defense is god-awful. But, man, it is so low that I'm tempted to take a bite out of that 42.5. It's just, in the NFL nowadays, these teams are going to blunder their way into the 20s, right? And, neither defense is very dominant. Me, personally, all my money is staying away from this game. If I'm picking a side, I'm taking the Giants because, obviously, you got to trust Daniel Jones. They have Golden Tate and Darius Slayton and Ingram, and they've got some players at least. And you look at Washington, they're running out J.D. McKissick and Logan Thomas and Dontrell Inman. My God. And then if Kyle Allen has anything happen, it's Alex Smith on his robot legs. You can't trust that side. So I lean the Giants and I guess the over because it's so low. We're not seeing games that low scoring in the NFL. It's very, very rare. I guess I'd lean the over. Probably some strip sack fumbles and you got some pick six upside in here as well. And bad coaching on the Giants side. What an ugly football game, but it's got to give you a lot of hope as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. That's for damn sure.
Or as a Dallas Cowboys fan. The Dallas Cowboys can snap their starting quarterback can go down with an injury. It's like, hey, no big deal. We can still win the NFC East. It's amazing how low it is. But I always like to bag on the Washington Redskins football team. And I get a chuckle out of, the NFL is set to be even across the board. Everybody gets the same amount of draft picks to start. If you're bad, you get the draft high. Can you imagine running a football team? You say, hey, look, if you just got dropped into Washington, you said, what do we got here? And said, did you guys miss 6 straight drafts? How do you end up with no talent on your football team? It's almost impossible to do. Yeah. You get a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and you have nothing. You don't have anything to show for it but a half of a wide receiver. Amazing. We spent way too much time on that game as is. Let's get to a better game on Sunday afternoon. 261, 262, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Baker Mayfield, a banged-up Baker Mayfield, and a new-look franchise that we thought hey, same old Browns, Kyle. Week 1, get hammered by the Ravens. They're not going to do anything this year. They rebound quite nicely, and here they are trying to go for that AFC North supremacy to go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who beat my Philadelphia Eagles last week. Line opens up at 4, drops down to 3.5. I agree with it, but the one thing I'm having a problem with, Kyle, I need all guns blazing for Cleveland. Odell Beckham goes home with an illness today. Is it COVID? Is it not COVID? Is he healthy? Is it like Alshon Jeffrey last week for the Eagles? Hey, I'm sick. I'm just going to go home and pack it in for the weekend. Also, Baker Mayfield, when you take a look at him with his rib injury, is he going to be able to stand up in the face of that nasty Pittsburgh pass rush? Early in the week, I wanted Cleveland. I'm sort of shying away from this game, but if I can get a full-go report where Baker Mayfield is saying, nope, I'm waking up dangerous this Sunday, I'm ready to go, I'm healthy as can be, that might put me back on that Cleveland side here.
Oh, yeah. And I could I always like Pittsburgh at home. We've talked about this ad nauseum this year, but Ben Roethlisberger at home, and now we're seeing some fans in the stands there in Pittsburgh, is so much more effective at home than he is on the road. And now you talk about Cleveland, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt. All of these guys are banged up. Larry Ogunjobi, their injury report is a page and a half long there in Cleveland. Doesn't mean they're not going to play, and a lot of these teams are going to be careful with their players and say they're questionable and make them limited at practice, sure. But if you're going into Pittsburgh and you're going to play Ben Roethlisberger at home with a full complement of weapons and an emerging star, it looks like, in Chase Claypool, full complement of running backs, Deontay Johnson should be back. So you're going to have 4 capable wide receivers. Eric Ebron is always questionable with some sort of injury. That's not surprising at all, but I expect him to play with the hand issue. I like Pittsburgh quite a bit. I would feel comfortable taking Pittsburgh all the way up to like 5.5 or 6 right now. I do not trust Cleveland with all those injuries. Baker Mayfield's going to be pretty limited. One thing to watch out for is, of course, the TJ Watt injury for Pittsburgh. We want to make sure that pass rush is full force. But this is not going to be Myles Garrett going after Phillip Rivers. Even though Ben Roethlisberger's no speed demon himself, he's still able to get out of the pocket, move around, make players miss, and make plays well on the move. I think the Pittsburgh defense is too good for that Cleveland offense, especially how banged up they are. And that Pittsburgh offense, I mean, we saw what the Dallas Cowboys offense did to Cleveland, sort of comeback mode, but they were able to move the ball up and down the field. The Cleveland defense doesn't scare me. I like Pittsburgh. I think they do it pretty easily. I like the Steelers a lot this week.
Now, here's the drawback for me with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I think they're paying it up real nice right now. But as, Dr. Zeus would say, stink, stank, and stunk is who they played this year. The Giants, horrendous. The Denver Broncos, horrendous. The Houston Texans, before they fired their coach, horrendous. The Philadelphia Eagles, when Travis Fulgham is beating you like a drum down the field, and a 57-yard field goal late in the game that just slides right, which maybe you would have lost again to the Philadelphia Eagles after you had a bye week. That's what worries me here. But the good part about it, it's still Thursday. We could sharpen that iron before it gets here on Sunday. If I can get some good practice reports back for the Cleveland Browns and still get over 3.5, I think they're going to give them all they can handle in this game. And I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have all the components to win. Good offensive line, good running back, good quarterback, good wide receivers, good defense that gets pressure. But I just haven't seen that closing mentality out of the Pittsburgh Steelers just yet, even though, hey, they closed last week with a late touchdown because Nate Gerry is on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. But that game last week with that 17-point lead, they really laid down and almost got caught by the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. Something to keep up and under. But I do like that game. It's going to be a fun one. 1 o'clock here in the city of Philadelphia. A rowdy 5,000 people. Thank you, Governor Wolf, letting them in to see the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. 263, 264, the Baltimore Ravens, Philadelphia Eagles. Lamar Jackson coming to town. Not really firing on all cylinders. An electric quarterback, but it just hasn't been clicking. And it doesn't look like it's actually, playing the Kansas City Chiefs. It hasn't seemed to matter. They battered, brutal, beat down Joe Burrow and the boys for Cincinnati. Didn't even put up a fight in that game. Had to save face late in the game just to kick a field goal to say, whoo, we didn't get shut out in this one. But now they're coming to Philadelphia. And I don't know. I like the fight for the Eagles. Travis Fulgham coming as a rookie, an unbelievable game last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this is a different animal here. This isn't really a bend but don't break type defense for the Baltimore Ravens. They are going to be getting after it. Now, the question I have in this game is who's coming to play for the Philadelphia Eagles? Because you liked the fight last week, but now you're going to might be down Lane Johnson. It looks like he's very limited this week, not practicing, and a good chance he's going to miss this game. That doesn't bode well for going against that front seven for the Baltimore Ravens, but also taking a look at Darius Slay, who last week got a concussion versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's also limited for this week as well, but there's bigger things. Me and Kyle talked about this before the show. Whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles win this game, it would be nice to win, yes, but if they lose, it really doesn't matter. The only games that matter to the Philadelphia Eagles, like it was last year for the last 6 weeks, was going up against the NFC East opponents. You play the New York Giants on a short week next Thursday, which means a whole hell of a lot more than this Baltimore Ravens game. Now, they're pro athletes. They're both getting paychecks. The coaches on both sides are getting paid. They do want to win the football game. But is this one where the upper management goes, we're going to make a business decision in this game? If Darius Slay is not healthy enough to play, and we really need the game, he probably would play. Maybe he doesn't play this week. Lane Johnson's your best offensive lineman. He might sit out. So you're taking a look at 4 out of the 5 offensive starters on the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles might not be playing in this game versus the Ravens. And maybe Joe Hayden is not on the field getting beat like a drum by Travis Fulgham. If Fulgham doesn't go off this week, where are the points coming from for my Philadelphia Eagles, Kyle?
That's going to be really, really tough. Is Miles Sanders going to have another surprise effort? Like, it was kind of surprising what he did against Pittsburgh last week. He looked really good in that offense. Kind of got off to a solid start in that game. That was the biggest sweat of the weekend for me, was that Steelers Eagles game. And thank God for that 4th touchdown by Chase Claypool, because I was sweating that game. But you mentioned all the injuries, the short week coming up, the game against New York, which is absolutely way more important than a non-conference game, versus the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, I got to lean Baltimore. Seeing a lot of 7.5, some 8s, see the 1-9. If it stays in that 7.5 range, I might buy myself a point and get it to 6.5 just so I feel better about the touchdown lead, but that's just so I can sleep at night. Honestly, when I break this game down, I just don't see how the Eagles are going to put up points on this defense. Marcus Peters now is going to be a shadow type corner over Travis Fulgham. He's not going to get that Steven Nelson and Mike Hilton stuff in the slot that he was getting last week with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to see a lot of Marcus Peters. He's going to see a lot of Jimmy Smith. And if he does go in the slot, they don't shadow him. Marlon Humphrey is right there. So it's actually a better secondary in Baltimore than it is in Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh does have a very solid secondary. They don't have the same weak points that Pittsburgh does. I like Baltimore in this game. I just think the Eagles are going to start to run out of some of that lucky juice. I mean, I say lucky juice, but they made it a very competitive game against Pittsburgh. They beat my 49ers. This feels like uphill sledding to me. It's not a long trip for Baltimore. It's not like they're going across the country. They're going, 50, 60 miles? I'm not sure how far away it is, but it's pretty damn close. I like Baltimore in this game. I think they win it pretty easily.
Yeah, it's like buying a point. And again, we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who tend to go for it a lot more on 2-point conversions than a lot of the league, very progressive. So that 7.5 to me plays just like a 7 or even a 6.5 would be, because if you're looking at the game where it's a 10, 17-point game, they're going to try to make it 9. If they don't, they make it back to 11. So a field goal pushes it back to 8. It's an odd way to now think in this new line of thinking. But also looking overall, when I take a team that's going to go on the road like the Baltimore Ravens, can they win by 10 points? Of course they can win by 10 points. They're a really good football team. But I need to have confidence. And what I mean by that is when you take, let's just say, the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, right? You say, you know what? If they're struggling a bit, you have confidence that they zip, 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 they can go right down the field, 3 plays, 68 yards, and a touchdown through the air. The problem I'm having with going up against the Baltimore Ravens is 171 yards in the air versus Cincinnati, 206 versus Washington, 70 yards in the air versus Kansas City, 177 versus Houston, 270 opening day. So the explosiveness has to come from the running game, and maybe there is a little bit something here to the Baltimore Ravens with that injury report last week saying, hey, Lamar Jackson's knee is a little bit bothered. Hey, kids, stay in the pocket a little bit more. Try to work out the kinks, hit some open receivers. They don't have those big-name wide receivers that can really get after you, and if Slay does play, maybe you're getting a slowed down offense for the Baltimore Ravens until they're 100% healthy. That's the only thing that keeps me down. But you're going to get an honest effort out of the Baltimore Ravens. And I keep getting back to the adage, Kyle. When I look at this game, it doesn't actually mean much. Like last week, I think they got a moral victory going to Pittsburgh and just hung around with how many guys are banged up. You might have even more guys, and maybe Deshaun Jackson comes back, maybe Alshon Jeffrey comes back. That should help. But again, if you can't block up front, you're going to cause a turnover-prone Carson Wentz right now, throwing a career high in interceptions. He might continue that path this weekend. So tough game, road game, 7.5. Let's keep going here. Cincinnati and Indianapolis, bad football team here with the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road. And Phillip Rivers, one of those games we like to call referendums. Hey, maybe you should put Jacoby Brissett in. If we just got a competent guy to run the offense, because he was throwing for about an 80% clip in the first couple of games of the season. Didn't play very well last week, but now you get a breather going up against Cincinnati. Is this one of those games where Phillip Rivers says, you know what, I need to have a good game. I'm in a dome. There's no wind for my weak arm, and I should be able to go up and down the field on this Cincinnati team? Or is it one in the second quarter? Jacoby Brissett comes into the football game. They're favored by, opened up at 9.5 at SBRodds.com. Now we're down to 8s across the board. Some 7.5s are showing up, and a 46.5 is a total. Usually I'd look at this, Kyle, 46.5. That seems really light, especially with Cincinnati, with their offensive weapons and a tremendously bad defense. But that hasn't been the case. Outside of the, that Jacksonville game, that Cincinnati offense is just stuck in like neutral for the most part when you look at their odds. I know Joe Burrow gets a lot of pub here, but that offense stinks right now, and they're going to need to score points to get over that total. And let's not forget, Colts got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, the Colts have a very good defense, and hopefully they get Darius Leonard back today. I was scouring the injury report looking to see if he had practiced on a limited basis. I'll pull that up here in just a moment. Looks like he's questionable. He's listed as questionable. They get Darius Leonard back. That's a big addition. Anthony Costanzo, the left tackle, was also out last week. So Myles Garrett made Phillip Rivers look scared and incompetent in the pocket. This week, you talked about it. It's a huge break against Cincinnati, and ever since that, that Cleveland game, they looked okay on that Thursday nighter, and then against Jacksonville, the Cincinnati defense or offenses looked dreadful outside of Joe Mixon. AJ Green does not look like his usual self. The young rookies starting to regress just a little bit. You got to lean the Colts here. Big home game. I don't like some of the 9.5s. Those are weird juices on that, but 7.5s and 8s, I'm absolutely fine with that. I just don't see the Cincinnati offense being able to move the football on this Colts defense. Their most explosive weapon is in the running game. Colts are very good at stopping the run, so good luck to the Bengals this weekend. I like the Colts, and I think they do it easily this week.
There you go. Hey, look, I'm with you on that. I like to buy teams low. When everybody's talking about benching Phillip Rivers and woe is me Indianapolis, you get that breather this week. I think they'll be able to move the football in the dome, do whatever they want. And again, they can lean on that defense. We'll see if Darius Leonard gets back in for the defensive side. Maybe Anthony Costanzo, who missed last week, who's a key contributor to that offensive line, gets back in healthy. Let's keep going here. Kelsey's going to join us in just a few moments here, so we got a couple more games to get through. What we'll do is go over these last 4 games, bring her on. We'll go over some pick 6 contests, and then we'll flip back to those Monday Night Football games, put a nice little bow here on the show. But 281, 282, Denver and New England. We have some clarity here on who's going to be quarterback. It's going to be Drew Lock. Welcome back, the young flamethrower for the Denver Broncos, going up against Cam Newton, who's back here. Looks like he had a decent day of practice today from all intents and purposes, what we're seeing. Also, Stephon Gilmore back at practice. So a rested and ready maybe team here that we're going to get for the New England Patriots. And they better be rested and ready. If you're taking a look at SBRodds.com, a 50-50 ticket split. But you're not getting any bargain here. You're going to have to win by double digits. Pinnacle Offshore -10 plus 111, but it's really 9.5s across the board, and an over-under that opened up at 46.5. That now sits at 45. Obviously, you saw the team operate without Cam Newton, and it's not a pretty sight. So Cam Newton probably sitting back on the sidelines with COVID going, just made a lot. Even though I didn't take the field, I just made a lot of money tonight because this team can't operate without me. Now you get him back. Denver's got a decent defense, but you have a young rookie quarterback going, and I should say rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, hasn't played all that much, going up against New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, and that defense. It usually doesn't bowl well, but do you think that they can cover the 10 in this game? I'm looking more at that over-under side, maybe a team total on New England, but I need to see a little bit more coming back because, again, if you don't have if you're asymptomatic with COVID, it's basically got a week off to rest your legs for Cam Newton. That's never a bad thing, so maybe he can carry 14, 15 times this weekend. I think it's a nice little victory for New England. Maybe a first half bet on the New England Patriots in this game, up by a touchdown at the half, but 10 points. Team's a little bit of a layoff, guys coming back from injury. Seems a little bit much for me, but I can see the New England Patriots being up a touchdown at the half here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where it's like the 10 points. It makes you a little nervous, but Drew Lock stinks. I mean, we saw him play. Is Drew Lock any better than Brett Rypien? Probably not. I haven't
think
seen.
He is. He's got a live arm though, which is good for an over/under because boom or bust.
I guess. I mean, we saw him against that Titans defense week 1, a Titans defense that does not look very good. I know they had the good game against Buffalo, but we've seen teams move the ball up and down the field on Tennessee. Drew Lock got 13 points. They could be without Melvin Gordon this weekend, too. He got himself in a little bit of a DUI situation there earlier in the week, but they do have Phillip Lindsay, who it looks like he's going to be ready to come back, so he could sort of take over the burn there. But it's just when you get in the 10s and how much do I trust New England and how much do I trust Denver, it's kind of ugly for me. So I'm with you. I'm looking at a team total for New England, and I like the first half bet. I could see New England up by a touchdown at the half. I think they're the much better team now that whole secondary is healthy. So what, we're supposed to be afraid of Drew Lock to Tim Patrick or Drew Lock to Jerry Jeudy and Deshaun Hamilton? Even Noah Fant may not be there this week. Oh boy. That Denver team seems pretty bad to me. If I'm staying away from this game, if I had to bet it, it would be a team total the first half. And if I'm just picking it overall, I'm going to see if I can find those 9.5, stay under the 10, and take New England.
I can't go against you because it just seems like a Bill Belichick type situation. Young quarterback confused him. And you're right, Melvin Gordon being out, that's a big difference. And same thing, KJ Hamler with a hamstring injury. So now you're working on limited weapons going against an elite defensive coordinator and a pretty good defense on the road, a rested and ready New England Patriots team. We'll see how that plays out here in the chat box. And yes, Jay Peach, $25 million a year. You know who makes that, Kyle? That is the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. $25 million a year. It must be nice, huh?
Well, Kirk Cousins gets like $32 million or something. I mean, they pay these guys. Just give me half, and I can go out there and throw, more interceptions.
People tell me I sort of look like Phillip Rivers. Maybe I can put on the helmet and shoulder pads and take in one of those game checks there this weekend. So let's keep moving here. But interesting game. I don't know if I'm going to have any money at all whatsoever on that Denver-New England game. But maybe as the week progresses, we'll see if we get any line movement there. Sunday action, 4 o'clock. Only 2 4 o'clock games. This is the first one, 279, 280. Joe Flacco and the New York Jets without Le'Veon Bell and maybe a homecoming for Adam Gase. He's really excited for this game. I don't know. Maybe he's going to stay at an Airbnb that he used to use when he was the head football coach of the Miami Dolphins. But outside of that, the The Jets really just going on a business trip here. The Miami Dolphins go out and shred San Francisco, coming home to some Dolphin fun. Even the governor said, hey, man, you guys want to go ahead and have 70,000 people in your stadium? Go ahead. They're not going to do that, but they do have the option to have a nice little party. Ryan Fitzpatrick looked amazing. The offense was clicking on all cylinders. The defense getting healthy in the secondary looked great. Now you get to take on the Jets. Another win for those Miami Dolphins. Could they be making a playoff push? Could they even be adding Le'Veon Bell? We'll see as the day goes on today. But how about this? Forget about, like, you see, we're saying, like, you know, Kyle, like last week, my best bet in banker was like, hey, I think the Dolphins can hang around. They're getting 9 points. You know, Fitzpatrick should be good. Maybe look like a genius. And then I look at this week because I'm so used to looking at the Miami Dolphins and going, you know what, Fitzpatrick can backdoor and probably cover the spread. They ain't getting 10 points this week. They're laying 10 points. Crazy. I got to say, I honestly agree with it. What do you see out of the New York Jets franchise that says, you know what, Adam? We know you used to coach the Dolphins. We really want to play hard for you this week and get after it. Joe Flacco is just cashing a paycheck at this point. He's got no help at a running back, nothing at wide receiver, and a team on defense that's led by a guy that just says, hey, when all else fails, just go rough the quarterback and take a 15-yard penalty. Yeah. Doesn't look good for them, but it's that mindset that you say, wait a second, the Dolphins need to win by 14 basically to cover this. Yeah. And you know what? I agree with it.
Yeah, I agree with it too. It's scary. It's scary as hell to take the Dolphins as a 9.5, 10-point favorite. That's absolutely insane. But maybe, you know, Adam Gase probably still has a home there in Miami. He can invite Dan Quinn over, and after the weekend's over and they're done getting spanked by the Miami Dolphins, they can just stay at the house together, you know, and lick their wounds, because Adam Gase has got to be gone soon, right? This is an absolute dumpster fire of a team.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's atrocious. And I know Le'Veon Bell wasn't doing anything special, but I mean, when you're surrounded, when your wide receivers are Chris Hogan and Jeff Smith and your tight ends Chris Herndon, I mean, you got the Lego policeman Sam Darnold supposed to be your saving grace, and now you got Joe Flacco out there. What in the hell is he supposed to do? It's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
You gotta like the Dolphins here. I hate that number. Obviously, it just jumps off the page. It's very strange to think of Miami as double-digit favorites, but my God, the Jets are terrible. So I'm probably staying away from this game. I might look at a Dolphins team total if I can get it low enough, because I think they can easily move the ball on this defense. You saw Pierre Desir might be the worst corner in the league. Teams are absolutely picking on this guy left and right, and he's going to be lined up over Devontae Parker, and something like 56% of his routes are going to be on the same side of the field as Pierre Desir. So got to like Miami. That number scares the crap out of me, no doubt about it. But hopefully Adam Gase still has his vacation home there, because he could be there for a while after this weekend.
Yeah, VJ says Dolphins first half points. And also Dracula says the Jets will go 0-16. I think that's probably what they're angling for. At least Joe Douglas, the GM, probably would like that. Get a crack at, be a nice little thing to have. Like, hey, I got Darnold. I could piece them off for a high draft pick and just take Trevor Lawrence here coming up. But there's not a lot to like about the Jets, because you look at the over-under, Kyle, at 47, and it's a very doable number, specifically with Miami. We love Fitzpatrick for a total guy. Boomer bust, gets it going, dropped a ton of points last week. But I don't know what you get counter-wise from the New York Jets this week. But anyway, let's keep going here. 2 more games before we bring on Kelsey. Talk a little bit about some pick six contests. 271, 272, Green Bay and Tampa Bay, the game of the day, 425, prime time, center cut, get after it. And I love this line movement in this game, because it opens up at -1.5 offshore at SBRodds.com as a favorite to Green Bay. You saw it get as high as 2.5. Now the backtracking coming in. Basically -1s across the board with light juice, and an over-under skyrocketing from 51.5 all the way up to 56s across the board. Should get some good weather. But here's the interesting part, because we love what Aaron Rodgers can do, right? But you have a pretty good defense for Tampa Bay. The one interesting thing to watch as the week goes on, if Tom Brady gets some healthy bodies back on offense. Obviously, O.J. Howard can't come back with an ending injury with an Achilles, but if he can get Chris Godwin back, if he can get his slot guy Scotty Miller back, if Mike Evans gets an extra couple days since they played last Thursday to get that ankle healthy, Ronald Jones back, maybe Leonard Fournette comes back, you're going to see some points in this football game. And I agree. I know the chat box is in here loving Aaron Rodgers, and I love what the Green Bay Packers have done. But the better defense lies with Tampa Bay, and I think Tampa Bay's offense will be able to move the football with the extra game plan. Give me Tampa Bay in this game.
Yeah, I like Tampa Bay as well, and you're right. Their defense is certainly better. Looks like Green Bay might be getting Kenny Clark back, which is Frank Clark is a huge addition for that defense in the front seven. Kenny Clark, yeah. Kenny and Frank, I always get them mixed up.
Those damn twin brothers, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what the hell. But the one thing that concerns me about Tampa Bay is they are just too heavily penalized. And you cannot go out on 3rd and 4 and commit penalties 3, 4, 5 different times and give Aaron Rodgers extra opportunities to drive the ball down the field. You're going to lose that game every time. And we saw it cost them big time against Chicago last Thursday. So now Green Bay comes into town, warm weather game. Aaron Rodgers does not play as well on the road as he does at home. A lot of quarterbacks are that way, but his record is literally 500 on the road, and then, like an 8-something win percentage at home. So it's a drastic difference. Big news for Green Bay. They're going to get Devontae Adams back. That's a huge addition to that offense. He's going to see a lot of the kid Carlton Davis. We talk about him every week on the show. Very good young corner, certainly beatable. Allen Robinson was able to make a few plays against him last week. So that's a big addition for Green Bay. I cannot wait for this game. Right now, I'm just going to lean the home team with the better defense. I'm seeing a lot of pick'ems, a lot of -1. It's really, really close. And I do think there's points in this game. I'm seeing some 55.5s and 55s. I like the over in this game as well.
It's a great one, and I'm glad it's 425 because I don't know how many people are really going to pay attention. And it's a shame that the NFL does this. They load up at 1 o'clock, and I understand from a business practice, you want the singular game that everybody's going to watch, and you don't want to confuse it. So what do? They throw the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets at 4 o'clock and say, hey, guys, you got 2 games on. Well, I hope you watch both of them. No. We're all going to watch this game with Green Bay and Tampa Bay, outside of us hardcore gamblers that may lay down a team total on the Miami Dolphins. But that's a very good game. I agree with the line move, but I can't fault people for saying, hey, look, a light number with Green Bay. They haven't lost yet. Aaron Rodgers is crushing it out here. Now he gets his main weapon back. It's going to be a fun one, but I do preface this by saying I would like to see that practice report for Thursday come back and also Friday to see if he has his weapons. Because even though, to be honest with you, Kyle, Chris Godwin comes back into the lineup, you're still dealing with a hamstring injury. That could be 3 plays and he's back on the sideline. Like, oh, here we go. I bet because Godwin was going to run up and down the field. Now he's not. So keep an eye on that. But I do like that football game. One more game we'll talk about before we get to the Pick Six contest. 273, 274, those Rams going up against San Francisco. And what to make of it. If you're a gambler, if you're a stock market guy, you want to buy on the way down. So if you're buying San Francisco, they're on the way down right now. But what would you do going up against the Rams? You got an elite play. You got 2 elite play callers on both sides. But Sean McVay, everything he's dialing up is working. The defense is hungry as hell. The offense is looking great. Wide receivers, running backs, quarterback, offensive line, all working in tune. And now you're going on the road, which, again, you're not going to deal with fans here. -3s turn into -3.5s. Everybody and their grandmother can't get enough of the Rams here. Is this a spot, Kyle, that we buy on your 49ers and say, it can't get any worse. We got to be able to play. But, boy, last 2 weeks leaves a lot to be desired. But maybe your quarterback can stand up in the pocket. Maybe his ankle is a little bit better. Maybe you get some guys back healthy. But that defense doesn't seem to be getting as healthy as we need it to be at this point.
Yeah, no, and if you can't stand tall in the pocket against the Miami Dolphins pass rush, how are you supposed to stand tall in the pocket when Aaron Darnold, the best defensive lineman in the league, is breathing down your neck literally on every play? Literally the biggest weakness of Jimmy Garoppolo is pressure up the middle, much like Tom Brady. He's not going to escape out of the pocket and create plays on the move. That's not his strength. This is a bad spot for the 49ers. We're just simply not healthy enough. And the weapons we have on the outside, you look at a Jalen Ramsey, you look at a Darius Williams, the secondary for the Rams is playing lights out. Trust me, I want to. Every fiber in my being is telling me, hey, the 49ers in primetime at home, they have an outstanding historical record in situations like this. They always find a way to do it. I can't see it. I got to take the Rams. I think the number's too low, to be completely honest. I think it should be higher after what we've seen out of this team. So 3.5 and 3s feels like a gift to me. So I got the Rams, and yes, it hurts, but we're not here to gamble with our heart. We're here to gamble with our head, and you got to take the Rams.
Yeah, they don't make it easy on your mind, man, because you take a look at the game, you're like, hey, the Rams are only -3. Where do I sign up on this? Have you seen the 49ers? Because it's not like the 49ers got boat raced by the Chiefs, like in the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Okay, like you lost to an Eagles team with nothing, and then you go and lose at home to the Miami Dolphins, who, nice little ball club to get after it, but you're not supposed to get crushed like that. So It's kind of shocking, but again, you have to sort of remove that last week's game out and then say, you know what, it's a new week to take a look. But a lot of people lining up on the Rams. And again, I can't fault them the same way I can't fault people for lining up on the Green Bay Packers. 2 teams going on the road, favored a little bit, expected to get that win done. But hey, let's talk a little bit of Pick Six football. I need a rebound, going 3-3 last week, still above 500 on the season. picking 6 games in the NFL. Not always the easiest thing to do. Let's bring on one of the first ladies of football here on the NFL at sportsbook.com. Kelsey Kramer, welcome back, coming in from Arizona, which I saw is like 100 degrees today. Good Lord, man.
Yeah, I think we're going to give Kelsey a few minutes. She had to run and do something, so we're going to maybe talk about our pick 6 here for a little bit. She had some stuff that she had to handle last minute. Hey, when you're live, it's live TV, right? So we just got to rock and roll with the punches. So everyone expecting the show to get a little funnier and better looking. Sorry, it's going to stay.
Yeah, we played you. Yeah, we played you right there.
We played you, and we forced you to stay around. So there we go. Let's talk a little bit about this Kansas City Buffalo game Monday night. What do you think about that? Should we talk about that?
Here's what we can do on this game, because you got 2 games, and here's what the good part, and I'm going to preface this by saying, I got my wish here at sportsbook.com. It feels like, I already had my birthday. I'm in my 40s. I'm feeling good, losing a little bit of weight, got the fresh haircut. But really got my weekend going, Kyle? When I got the word that we're going to be on the air for the 5 o'clock game not the 8:15 game, it was like one of those things that, you know what? I'm feeling young. I'm feeling vibrant. I got a 5 o'clock game. I'll be tucked in bed by about 10 o'clock. That is the best part about it. But this is a really interesting game, because now you're talking about 2 football teams coming in off of bad losses. Say what you want. You saw the final score at the Kansas City Chiefs game when they played the the Las Vegas Raiders. It wasn't as close as that. Kansas City was outplayed thoroughly in that game, even after having a big lead. And now you take a look at the Buffalo Bills going on the road. Would you figure that, hey, you know what? This is the best case scenario to get after the Tennessee Titans and say, you haven't practiced, you're injured, you got guys missing on COVID, we're rested and ready to go. And again, going on the road is not that much of a, let's just say, quagmire now, because there's no fans. They were horrendous in that game, Kyle. So now we take a look at this game. 8 out of every 10 tickets coming in. Opens up at 3.5. You're getting 4s. Kansas City is favored. I'm thinking they bounce back. I'm thinking Buffalo bounces back, gets healthy, and gets after it on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and this is going to be a cold, rainy game as well. Looks like, projections early. Again, I'm not a meteorologist, and I can be guilty of giving bad weather advice, but usually Donnie corrects me on that when that happens. But I think from what I'm looking at now, it looks like in the 40s and possibly rain. So I'm actually liking the under 57.5. I know these are 2 really good offenses, but if that's the sort of situation we're getting there, you could definitely see them slow it down a little bit. Kansas City looked terrible against the Raiders. We've actually seen them look bad a couple of times offensively this season. I'm right there with you. I think Buffalo bounces back, and they have the sort of weapons that give the Chiefs secondary some problems, and Josh Allen can move the pocket around a little bit. So even though it's weird to not pick Kansas City every week, I mean, that's what a smart person would do, especially when it's only 3.5 or 4. I'll be the idiot and take the Buffalo Bills as well at home. And I think it's a lower scoring game than people think because of the weather. So I'll take the under points total. That's what
I don't know. See, I'm seeing like 57s. How do you go under, though, in this game? Because, again, it's not 46, right? So it is 57. You do need a lot of scoring in this game, but if you're going to get John Brown back on offense, you're going to get, Zach Moss back. Both of these offenses look full goal. Obviously, I think Sammy Watkins obviously going to be out a couple weeks, but you still have speed on both sides, and neither one of these defenses have shown me any. Look at last week. Like, Las Vegas went up and down the field. Tennessee, with a half of offense, went up and down the field. I think they could both get after it on turf as long as we don't get rain or, 15-mile-an-hour winds, which doesn't look like that could be the case. I think they go up and down team totals on both sides, to me, will be in play in this game.
Yeah, it's a cold game in the rain. I don't know. I'm just not sure I trust them to put up the points. Now, we kind of talked about this before the show. Rooting for the under just absolutely sucks, right? And we see it just it does. It sucks. It sucks rooting for the under.
By the way, if you take an under, do you even watch the game or just go out and check the score later? Because it's got to be pain.
Yeah.
It's just pain.
I try to fall asleep or just drink myself to sleep because I hate the whole scenario. It's absolutely terrible. But I'm just a little bit worried about the colder weather and the rain. If it's 40s and rain, that's a tough scenario for a lot of points. You could see them hesitating to kick field goals, even though the Chiefs have one of the better kickers in the league. You could see less field goals being taken and maybe more risks on 4th down. So you're not getting as many points per possession, maybe, unless they convert on it. So I've talked myself into the under. I hate it. Maybe by the time Monday, maybe on Monday night, my mind will change. It's still a little bit early, but right now, I think I'm leaning the under, and I think I'm going to take the home underdog in the Buffalo Bills.
How about that 7 out of 7? Basically, 8 out of every 10 tickets here coming on Kansas City. It seems like it's always the case. But are we off the Bills bandwagon? Like, are we off? Like, we saw
Not
one
me.
bad night on a weird Tuesday game, and nobody wants the Bills anymore. Like the Bills, they're finally going to win the division, and everybody's got Super Bowl, grandeur. The Bills and a nice little long shot of 30-1. Are we off because of one game versus? And let's get something straight. Tennessee's not a bad football team. That's a really good football team.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like the Buffalo Bills quite a bit. I'm actually more down on Kansas City because last week's loss against the Raiders wasn't the first time that we've sort of seen Kansas City this year and go, they're just not really. They don't look like they're in full gear yet. They're not fully revved up yet. And I think this is a tough place to go play in Buffalo. I know there's no fans, but it's still a tough place to play. Some tough weather. So I'm going to take the home underdog. If I can get a team like Buffalo as a home underdog, I know it's Kansas City, but I'm taking Buffalo. I mean, that's where you make money at. You do that long enough, you'll end up being profitable. You might get one or two wrong, but this one I think we're going to get right.
Yeah, come on, Governor Cuomo, open up this. Let Bills Mafia get in there. Let's get 65,000 of Bills Mafia in there to rock that stadium, throw people through, desks and tables and chairs. Let's get after it. I'm excited because again, if you can see the smile on my face, a 5:00 Monday Night Football game. It's heartwarming for me. I'm getting emotional here on this one. But 275, 276, Arizona and Dallas. Kyler Murray goes into Big D without Dak Prescott. But you still got Ferraris. You might have the Yugo under center right now with Andy Dalton, but you got Ferraris all over the place. Wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. And yeah, you do got a bad defense for Dallas. But am I going to be a Cowboys stand this week and say, wait a second, I don't believe Dallas should be the dog in this game? And you're going to say, oh, no, Kyler Murray in that offense, they should be able to get after it. I'm not so sure about that. And as much as I hate the Dallas Cowboys, I always preface this by saying, I like money. I'm trying to find a way here, Kyle, to take those Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football.
Don't do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. Andy Dalton in prime time. I may as well throw my dog out there at quarterback, and he will throw a better ball in primetime than Andy Dalton. The worst primetime quarterback in the history of everything. He makes Kirk Cousins look like Joe Montana on primetime. Andy Dalton is absolutely dreadful in primetime. There's no way, absolutely zero way I could put any money on Andy Dalton ever again in primetime. I think Arizona runs up and down the field. We're not just talking about a team now with Andy Dalton, the quarterback. We're talking about one of the 2 or 3 worst defenses in the league. Now is going to need Andy Dalton to keep you into a game. Dak Prescott couldn't even do it. Now we're expecting Andy bleeping Dalton. Absolutely not. No way. Give me Arizona. I locked this in as soon as I saw it. I don't care if Kyler Murray gets ruled out in this game, and they start Blaine Gabbert or they could start their kicker at quarterback, and I think he would outplay Andy Dalton. I truly believe that.
Now, we are putting a referendum-type game on Andy Dalton, and I would like to see Andy Dalton be terrible, as I call him the Ginger Ninja. But if we look at Arizona's wins this year, the defensive, like Chandler Jones is out. That's a defensive MVP player of the year type guy. He's not going to be in the game. Look at who Arizona's beat this year. San Francisco stinks. Washington stinks. They lost to Detroit. They lost to Carolina. And, oh, yeah, they beat the Jets last week, who stink. So now you're going to get a semblance here on the road. And who knows? Maybe Jerry Jones gets the governor on the line and says, hey, look at this. I need a packed house down there at AT&T. Bills are getting light. I need to pay some bills. Can I get at least 60,000 in here? Then you might be able to change some of the complexion of this game. And yes, I'm being a little bit hard-headed because there is a market downgrade of Dak Prescott operating in the pocket through the Ginger Ninja back there. But having said that, they're getting points. They're at home. Arizona hasn't beaten anybody. And you're going to get a little bit, so even though the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is banged up, you're taking a major component out of that Arizona defense away. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself and trying to be too sharp in this one, but I like it. I think I still like the Dallas Cowboys here.
Well, you're probably right. I probably jinxed it all. And Andy Dalton's going to come out and throw for 550 yards and channel his inner Traquan Smith. I'm sure that's going to happen now, but I have never seen it from Andy Dalton in prime time. It's always terrible, always bad. And I just don't know that they can stop anyone. Now, the total, as I look at that total, I start to wonder, are they going to rely on Ezekiel Elliott more? Are we going to see a whole lot more of that running game for Dallas and sort of slow the pace down in this game? So I get a little concerned there, but I'm like, I can't root for 2 unders on Monday night. I can't do that. I have to take one of the overs. I'm so damn torn. I cannot do the Andy Dalton thing. I like Arizona. I think Arizona is just a better team. I think Dallas stinks as well. I think they're a terrible football team.
How about some over-under in this game? Like, how about, like, opens at 53.5, still at 55? Yeah. Like, just, again, they're hey, 55, hey, I don't, Dak doesn't matter. Nobody matters. We're just going to put points up in this game. It's wild. It's still, you lost one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, yards-wise, moving the football-wise, and are they basically telling us that doesn't matter? Like, if Dak plays, is this 60? Like, what am I missing here?
It matters to me. Like, again, I'm probably rooting for 2 unders on Monday night because I think that's how I'm betting these 2 games right now. I do not trust Andy Dalton in primetime. I absolutely do not. I love CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, fantastic. Gallup, Zeke, the whole thing. Andy Dalton, so bad. I can't trust him at all. You're going to see so many throws in the dirt and sailing over, and you're going to see 3rd and 4, and the ball is going to be thrown 40 yards out of the sideline because Andy Dalton is so damn terrible. So give me the Cardinals, and it's probably the under, like 30-10 Cardinals. They just beat the brakes off of Dallas on Monday Night Football.
I love it, man. Covered that whole card, take about an hour. And I know if you guys look at the ticker over there, Pick Six Contest Plays, and Kelsey Kramer had a little bit of technical difficulties bringing her on today. But we'll rehash our Pick Six Plays on Sunday on our noon show, getting you ready for kickoff. I can talk football with you all day, Kyle. I can bust your stones all day. So we always have a lot of fun. And I know you guys see it in the chat box. Like, we generally get along, good friends. And it's a lot of fun to be here because you have over 250 people watching live here in the chat box on a Thursday talking about Sunday games. That's awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for coming in here. If you haven't done so yet, hit that subscription button down there, turn the notification bells on, and we will continue to pump out this content either tonight or tomorrow. They always ask us to make a banker bet. I have a couple that I really like, so keep an eye on the SBR account at SBR Picks on Twitter. If you don't follow them, do follow them. I'll put out a best bet and banker. Kyle always gives great information, coming up with some prop bets. We've been doing very well on that, but it's a Thursday. It's a lot of fun. We will be back on Sunday, 12 p.m., a full 1-hour show, getting you right up to kickoff. A lot of people come in the chat box on that show. It's a great show. We have a lot of fun doing it. Yep. So thank you guys once again for supporting us right here on sportsbookview.com. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. This is sportsbookview.com, and we are happy to bring the NFL show to you today for Thursday. Good luck, guys.